But his big thing, my dad's biggest thing in life is he used to always say to me, failing to prepare is preparing to fail.
So I totally get that that can sound a little cliche, right? Like just prepare more. If you don't prepare, you're going to fail. Oh, and everybody says that. But your level of confidence going into each game is a direct result of how well you've actually prepared for that game. And so I want you to really get that through your head. The level of confidence going into each game is a direct result of how well you've actually prepared for that game. So the more prepared you are for the game, the more likely you are to actually dominate in that game. And it sounds kind of obvious, but you really have to think about how legit that actually is. The problem most players have is that they don't really understand what it means to prepare. It's just this cliche thing of shoot more pucks, work hard, and you'll play well. But in this video, I want to talk about the mindset that Gretzky's describing here and how to actually use it to become the best player you can and play better in your next games coming up this weekend. And I'm going to give you 3 frameworks that you can use to prepare better for your next games. And it starts with something I look at with every single player I work with, whether it's a pro player, a D1 player, junior, high-level minor hockey. It's one core thing that we always attack, and it's the mindset around preparation. It's how they think about it, or their preparation mindset. And we do this because if you think about what it takes to actually play well in a game, it really breaks down into 4 quadrants. And so these are the 4 quadrants of performance. So if you start from the left, you have mental ability, which is your mental skills. And this is essentially what gets your brain into flow, so you no longer hesitate, you play with confidence, you play with belief. Right? This is what people think of when they think of like, I'm a confident player who gets into flow state consistently. Then you have hockey IQ ability, right? This is your ability to make effective decisions. This is being able to take in information, make a decision, get the outcome you want to get. Then you have physical ability, right? Strength and conditioning. This is building the body so whatever you tell it to do from a hockey IQ perspective, the body can actually do it. You need to work on that. And a lot of people think, oh, well, either they're like a meathead and all they do is focus on this, or they don't focus on it enough. And then you have the 4th one, which is mechanical ability, right? This is the mechanics that's become bigger in the last multiple years. This is being able to move efficiently on the ice. It's how effectively do you get from point A to point B. And if you can do this effectively, if you can move really well on the ice, you have the physical ability to do it at speed, with power, with durability, you don't get hurt. You have the hockey IQ to make effective decisions, and you have the mental skills or mental ability to be able to actually let this stuff happen because you're in flow state, and boom, you get an elite performer. Now in the textbook Game Changers by Dr. Fergus O'Connelly, he refers to these as essentially, he has technical, right, which is what we called mechanical, tactical, which is what we call hockey IQ, physiological, which I call mental ability, physical, which I don't really understand what the difference between these two are. I mean, obviously there's kind of like a mind-body connection component of it, and then he also has health. And so here's how I think about this. Personally, I think you can take physical and health and you can kind of combine these together into physical ability, because I think that ultimately it's just getting your body to do what you want it to do. Being healthy is just the key component that contributes to physical ability. It also kind of contributes to mental ability. If you have a healthy body, you have a healthy brain, and you're eating the right foods, you have good nutrition, you sleep well, you recover well, and then all of these things improve. So yeah, you could think of it as kind of a base here, but ultimately you don't really need to consider it separate. I personally don't think, because it kind of just drops in here. And so ultimately you can just think of physical ability as, again, do the things that get your body to perform the way you want it to perform. So do you sleep well? Do you eat well? Do you get fluids and hydrate well? Do you actually physically train well? Is your strength and conditioning dialed in? Are you durable? Are you doing things to increase your flexibility, your mobility? Are you rolling out, right? All of these different things all come together to form physical ability. So you have to really be aware that each pillar in this, if you kind of just take one out, you take one out, you take one out, you take one out, your game's going to fall apart slowly. So ultimately, to play well in general, you need to be able to access all 4 of these abilities at a high level. You have to be able to access it very quickly. So to be able to access it quickly, one, you have to obviously, again, like you do the physical training, but you develop your decision making, your ability to take in info, make an effective decision, and then get the outcome, and then make a better decision next time, learn and improve, right? But ultimately, what I find is that if you don't have the mental skills, you're not able to focus, be in flow, trust yourself, that a lot of times the other 4 fall apart. So that's why I focus so much on this, not because I think it's cool or it's, oh, this awesome thing. I just think mental ability limits these 4, it cuts them off. So why not develop this as a foundation first? That's why I do it. And so to clarify, the reason I've stayed on this topic for so long is because if you want to be able to play well, you need to be able to access skill. And if you want to be able to access skill, you need to actually have the skill to be accessed. So when you think of preparation, all you should be thinking is, how am I developing these 4 pillars? Now, the thing to understand is that each of these pillars pillars has things underneath it, right? So you can break all these other things down, which we'll talk about in future videos. There's tons of things you can understand, lots of concepts to really dig into. But the key is understanding from a base level. Preparation really just comes down to preparing all 4 of these pillars. And so I really want to drive this point home very clearly. The mindset around preparation needs to be very clear. Everything you do leading into a game will impact how you play. Now the question becomes, so how do we actually attack these 4 pillars and actually develop them effectively? That's where the second core framework comes into play. So this is the weekly training tracker. And so essentially it's a collection of different elements that allow you to be able to effectively plan your week out. Now, this is something that we exclusively give to our players that we work with. So this is not something that we just give out publicly, but that basically gives you a basic overview. And I'll break it down for you so that you can build your own version of this if you want. But if you want to work with us, you just get this whole system, and you also get upgraded versions of it. I've actually made a little bit better version of this since I last printed this, so I'm going to be adding that soon. But the way you can think of the weekly tracker is essentially this is a way to think about training your mind, which you can think of as both the mental ability and the IQ ability. So you have this as kind of the core piece. You pick how much you want to train, the length, the amount. You really understand the details of that. Then you have the physical training. You decide what you want to do for physical training. You plan that out. And then you have your skills training here. And then you decide, like, how much skills training do I actually want to do? What do I want to focus on? So this is going to force you to really reflect. And you can think of this as strategizing, like a war general, thinking about where are we going to move troops? This is where am I going to allocate my energy? And from there, the next piece is that we go into the training planner. So you can use this as kind of a checklist to fill out every week. So we have our guys print this out, and then you put it into your calendar so you actually have a plan. Again, this is how you become a real pro, is really treat the game with this level of planning. Then you start to set your intentions and you set up affirmations and things you want to say to yourself. This is sometimes surface level, but it becomes important over time as you become more advanced. You say what you want to visualize in different areas. You then decide on what your reflections are, the wins, the challenges, the lessons, and the structures, the things you're going to do to improve. And then fundamentally from there, you can also plan your games out and say, okay, how do I want to best prepare mentally? What are the keys to this game? What are the D zone, neutral zone things that I want to pay attention to that the other team does, and set better intentions for that? This is how you really maximize preparation. And this is why we're not joking around about how players can actually develop. So once you've actually built your weekly plan, then the next place that you need to think about is, what am I actually doing on a daily basis to execute, to make it happen? And how do I adjust and really get better? And that's what we're going to talk about next. So in comes your daily routine. And it might seem like a daily routine is something just simple you set up and then you don't think about, but routines are everything. And I absolutely love this quote. We become what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit, right? So a routine is essentially just a stack of habits that we do every single day. We want these habits to become automatic, instinctual, so we don't have to think about it. Because if we have to put a lot of mental energy into doing our routines, then it requires this discipline, or it requires motivation to drive us, and we need all this energy. Instead, it's just, I get up, this is who I am, this is what I do, and you just do it. And then you keep getting better. Because somebody who's really committed to getting better sets up routines. Somebody who's interested in getting better just kind of hopes that they show up, hopes that they do the work. And really, somebody who's hoping to be better is somebody who is not really likely to be better. They're just kind of saying, ooh, well, I'll throw this wish out into the air and say, maybe it'll work out. Instead, somebody who's committed to making it happen sets up routines that actually allow them to consistently do what they want to do. And so I've made multiple videos on pregame routines, and the thing you want to think about when it comes to the other routines are that it really comes down to these 7 core routines you need to set up for yourself. So you have your morning routine. This is what you do when you get up. It needs to be a flowing routine. Ideally, you add in some mental skills so that you can center your mind. And then after that, this allows you to kind of flow into your day. Most people have school, or maybe you have work, or whatever it is, but it allows you to basically know, I'm going to center myself, get myself in the right place. And then the next routines you can have is you can either have a non-hockey day routine. This is what you do when you don't have team events or team practices or training. It's, how do I set up my work day to really make sure I get better that day? Then you have your pre-practice or pre-game routines. These are things you do before you get to the rink. At the rink, it's good to have a checklist on your phone for these, so you can just set up your iPhone, put a checklist there. Then you have your post-practice and post-game routines. Most people don't think about this at all, but even just having a quick 5-10 minute thing that you do after every game, every practice, things that are simple, that are clear, to help you clear your mind out. Something we are giving our players in the next couple weeks is a post-practice and post-game meditation that they can do. It's going to be about 3 minutes to just center your mind, figure out what you did well, what you didn't, and then allow you to just relax and go into the next thing in your day. And then finally, you want to have a night routine. So after your day, you trained, you worked hard, and you may have had a practice, a game, you may have just done like a workout. Having a night routine that allows you to shut down is very important. And again, if you think about this doesn't mean every moment of your day needs to be perfectly scheduled. This is just being intentional about the things you do that are generally going to happen every day. Like, you get out of bed, you have a routine. Right before you go to bed, you have a routine. Before you go on the ice, before workouts, you have a routine. After you get off, you have a routine. And then boom, now the hockey stuff that you do is things you don't have to think about. It's automatic, and you'll just get better by just kind of flowing with your day instead of it being this rigid, difficult thing you have to do that you have to grind through. And so there's no perfect routine. I know people are going to comment below and say, ooh, give me a routine for this, give me a routine for that. You need to figure out what routine works best for you. Now, there's advice I can give you, but this is more personal. This is why we do coaching. So if you want to learn more about that, or more about what we just talked about in terms of the weekly training tracker, you want access to that, or if you want to understand just the preparation mindset, you want to download this more deeply into your mind, then again, you can check out the links below. There's free training to really start getting going with this. We have a basic free tracker you can start using. And also, if you just want to work with us and you're like, hey, I just really want to get started with this, I want to take this seriously, then you can click the first link. It'll show you a video, show you what it looks like to actually work with us, how we kind of process, how we kind of see development, how we help players. So if you're interested in that, please do that. And otherwise, I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next video.